Last issue in 140, Maggie has determined she must kill Gregory, Carl arrives at the Whisperers camp and discovers just how large they are, and Olivia fails to lock Negan's cell door when she left. The comic begins with Rick arriving home back at Alexandria to find Dwight, the new leader of the Saviors, waiting for him. We learn that the Saviors are still a bit of an outcast community and that the other settlements consider them weird. Dwight expresses to Rick that he isn't made to be a leader and that he doesn't want to lead the Saviors anymore. Rick refuses to pick a new leader for Dwight, instead deciding they should hold elections. Dwight leaves, Rick quickly kisses Andrea hello, and then Rick goes to check on Negan in his prison. Something Rick does every time he gets back. Down in the basement, he finds Negan with the cell open, waiting for Rick, which understandably shocks Rick. Rick draws his gun, noticeably a lot slower than in his old days, and Negan enlightens him that if Negan had wanted to, he could have wreaked havoc on both Rick and his precious town. Instead, he explains he wants to build trust with Rick. Rick flat out tells him that will never happen, and Negan will rot in the cell. Negan tells him he's only in the cell so Rick can convince himself he's still a good person, merciful and civilized. Rick leaves. In Alexandria's food hall, Rosita announces Eugene and her are having a baby, to the applause of everyone. Rick congratulates Eugene, who doesn't seem overly excited, but then Rick asks Eugene where Olivia is. And after locating her, Rick talks to Olivia about how she could have killed everyone in this room and the community for leaving Negan's cell unlocked. Rick tells her that if this happens again, she knows what the punishment will be and tells her to go home before she makes a scene. Andrea asks Rick what that was all about and Rick takes her home to talk about it. At home in bed, Rick discusses with Andrea about how the door was left open, and Andrea expresses that it should be partially on her for not checking on the door. Rick tells Andrea it's on Olivia, who is in charge of the room, and that Olivia obviously hasn't been checking in on Negan like she should be. Rick explains why Negan is being kept alive, even though Andrea believes Negan is too dangerous to remain here. Everybody wants Negan dead, and Rick has to be the better person, the one to tell there's a better way that doesn't involve killing. Rick wants to show that they are civilized people, and if they ever go back to how it was before, when they killed to survive, that's when everything would fall apart. Next page, Maggie and a crowd are gathered around a hanged Gregory. Maggie says it's done, and to cut Gregory down. This issue is building up to a lot of suspense and momentum to the fair. Starting back at the beginning of this issue, Dwight telling Rick he doesn't want to lead the Saviors anymore felt like Kirkman trying to shove in some exposition quickly. It was a little ham-fisted, but in the comics this stuff has to happen time to time. It would be hard to organically put this into a conversation and help us readers understand what's been going on with the Saviors. And I'm really not trying to rag on the penciler, but Dwight looked just like old Rick, and oddly enough also looked like Aaron in the next page. Also, Dwight with the long hair and crossbow looks an awful lot like Daryl Dixon from The Walking Dead show. Is this a subtle hint that Daryl's going to take on some of the Dwight storyline? I did not expect Negan to just wait in his cell for Rick. I was fully prepared to see Negan massively fucking with Rick in Alexandria. Did Negan really stay in his cell to build trust with Rick, or was Negan worried it was a setup? Oh no! The cell door was unlocked. Negan pops his head out of the house, people see him, and pop in the head with a bullet. He could have been worried that they wanted to off him, but couldn't execute him at this point, so they were waiting for him to make a quote-unquote escape. However, I want to believe Negan was trying to build trust. Rick seemed to get through to Negan back in the All-Out War arc when Rick was trying to talk him down. You know, and then quickly after that, Rick slit Negan's throat, so we didn't really get to see if he truly believed it. But before that, Negan had what looked like an epiphany. While I don't think Rick would ever fully trust Negan, what if something happens that Negan's help would be crucial for? What that could possibly be, some people say helping getting Carl back, is beyond me. It would take something very big for Rick to give Negan his freedom. And as much as Negan may change, he still did some awful sick shit. Negan's speech though, beautiful. Hands down the best line. Negan asking Rick if he went and fucked orgasms into Andrea until she ordered a t-shirt from the Negan's Cock fan club. I want a Negan's Cock fan club shirt. Does anyone feel Negan said that line about perfectly normal-sized wiener due to Olivia making that comment about his penis being smaller than she thought in the last issue? Was he stewing on that still? For those that think the cell door is tampered with, Kirkman put the detail in there that when Olivia locked the door, it only went click, and when Rick locked the door, it went click, clank. So I think the door is actually being locked this time. Does that mean Negan has fucked with anything, including Rick's house, the cell, or Alexandria? that's not a definitive no. Negan could have made a backup plan to get out if Rick decided not to trust him. Negan looks so shocked and sad when Rick said that he'd never trust him though. Poor Negan, you just can't catch a break after beating Glenn's head in with a baseball bat, can you? Negan also drops some truth bombs too. Rick keeps Negan alive as a reminder that he's a good person, merciful, and still civilized. Negan tells Rick to remember that when Rick is screaming at Olivia, threatening to exile her for leaving the door unlocked. And I think what Negan said played in Rick's mind when he spoke with Olivia about Negan's cell being unlocked. Rick could have been 100 times more brutal with her, but he mostly stayed calm. I hope Negan's words echo in Rick's head every time he's about to go super crazy on someone for something, even if I don't blame him. He doesn't want anyone messing up what he and others worked so hard to build because of absent-mindedness. The go home before you make a scene was pretty cold-blooded though. I liked Rick's explanation to Andrea about how if they go back to killing to survive, then things start to fall apart and everything they build would be ruined. And then we turn the page and see Gregory has just been executed per Maggie's orders. Very well done. Kirkman says that we are getting a female antagonist this arc. I'm beginning to think it's Maggie. Rick is going to be pissed that A, she went so long without sending a letter or someone to tell Rick about Carl going missing, and B, Maggie executed someone. What kind of tension is going to start between Maggie and Rick? Is Rick going to try to enforce his views on Maggie and her community? What about Maggie's people? Some of them in the crowd at Gregory's execution looked shocked. When Maggie left, it wasn't understanding eyes that followed her. How does executing Gregory without a trial look like to Maggie's community? Maggie is a stubborn, proud leader. Some people liked Gregory and found him to be harmless. Will Maggie now be seen as someone that just executes those that disagree with her? Will people whisper that if you don't 100% follow her and her rules, you could be executed next without trial? Is this the beginning of a dictatorship or a rebellion by Maggie's people? And what about the mention of elections by Rick? Is this going to catch on? Are we going to see other people being elected as community leaders now? Overall, good issue, and we get 2 issues for the month of June, so get excited.